Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for attending today's webinar on becoming a FAST approved carrier. My name is Justin Knowlton, moderator for today's webinar. Today's webinar will be hosted by Debbie Dent. Debbie is BorderConnect's Director of Consulting Services and has nearly 35 years of experience in the customs and logistics fields. She will be sharing her expertise on what's needed to become a FAST approved carrier, and the topics included in this webinar are: do you meet eligibility? How will you benefit from FAST approval? How to become a FAST approved carrier for the US, and how to become a FAST approved carrier for Canada. We've attached FAST and CSA application documents to this webinar, as well as a copy of today's webinar in PDF format that is available for download. You should be able to access those documents on the right-hand side under the Handouts tab. For anyone who has questions, you can simply use the chat box and type in your question during the course of the webinar, and we will answer your question at the conclusion. So without further ado, here is Debbie Dent.
Thank you, Justin. So what is FAST for the Northern Border? Free and Secure Trade is a joint initiative between Canada and the United States. It is voluntary and supports a commercial clearance program for known low-risk shipments. In order for a carrier to be considered FAST for Canada, you must make application and receive approval for both Customs Self-Assessment, our CSA program, and Partners in Protection, Canada's security program. FAST in the U.S. means you are considered certified for the Customs Trade Partnership Against Terrorism program, C-TPAT. So what's FAST for the Southern Border? Free and Secure Trade is, again, a joint initiative, but between the United States and Mexico. Mexico and the United States agreed to coordinate to the maximum extent possible their commercial processes for clearance of commercial shipments at the border. Eligibility for the FAST program requires participants, including a carrier, drivers, importers, and southern border manufacturers, to now make application based on the role in the Customs Trade Partnership Against Terrorism, C-TPAT, and FAST programs. So let's talk about the benefits. It is an enhanced release option for both going into Canada and going into the U.S. Dedicated lanes, where available, are provided to add speed and efficiency for the clearance of fast freight, especially when traveling with a transponder. Reduced number of inspections or exams for continued compliance with FAST requirements, and it provides FAST-approved carriers with FAST-approved drivers the opportunity to do business with FAST-approved importers or industry sectors such as the automotive. So let's talk first about Canada. To make application and to receive approval for programs, Customs Self-Assessment, the acronym CSA, and Partners in Protection, the acronym PIP, CSA and PIP is going to equal FAST, and by being enrolled in those two programs, you're going to expedite your border crossing and get a green light to proceed. Eligibility to make application for first CSA. 1, you must be a bonded carrier, have a carrier code with a maximum of $25,000 surety bond associated to a valid issued customs carrier code. You operate or reside in Canada or the United States based on your company's registration. You have a history of transporting goods to or from Canada for at least 90 days. At one time it was 2 years. That's been reduced now to 90 days. You have no history within that history that you've been doing of having any contraband or major commercial infractions against your company. You are willing and liable to maintain control for all shipments, including CSA-approved shipments, until goods are released and delivered. And you as a company are willing to provide senior management authorization and support that proper commercial business processes and audit trails will support the CSA program requirements. And you're willing to apply and meet the minimum security expectations of the PIP program in order to be considered FAST. So let's talk about the application for CSA. It is a two-part application. The first part is basically risk assessment. The carrier is going to provide basic information about your business structure and your commercial activities. Customs in return is going to conduct a risk assessment of your company, reviewing your customs and border crossing history in Canada. After that has been completed, then you're invited to go further with making application with the Part 2. Part 2 is based on your books, your records, and specifically your dispatch systems. Carriers need to document their commercial business process and audit trails, your reporting functions, relating to the flow and from order to billing of every single shipment that you handle. You will then be asked to sign a summary of program requirements once the application is approved. The Part 2 is really the part that we stumble through, as this is specific now to your dispatch software, and it needs to have triggers that are an expectation to be able to segregate a CSA shipment from a regular Canada-bound shipment. It should be noted that risking will take an average of 60 to 90 days. You can be working on your CSA Part 2, but you're not able to submit anything to continue the process until that invite has been received. So even carriers with non-automated dispatch systems can meet successful application. We just use an Excel spreadsheet in order to record all of your Canada and your US-bound shipment history with mandatory fields that would be expected and explained during the application process. So let's now talk about eligibility for the other program, PIP, Partners in Protection. Your business must fall into one of the authorized eligible categories. As a carrier, you're either a rail carrier, a marine carrier, a highway carrier, or an air carrier. You must own or operate facilities in Canada that are directly involved in the cross-border movement of commercial goods, or you must be a highway carrier company based in the US with a valid Canadian carrier code. Your company must have a good record of compliance with Canada Border Service Agency in order to proceed with the PIP application. The application process, it's a multi-stepped process. Partners in Protection recently launched their Trusted Trader portal, and you make that application now through that online portal system. First, you will need a Government of Canada credential, which is called a GC key. All contacts to be listed, including the signing officer of the company, must have and receive a GC key. After completing the process of the GC key requirement, you'll then log into the Trusted Trader portal account activation and registration page. That's where you'll start the process of making application, creating a company account, and by completing all of those necessary fields, you will then receive an activation code that will be sent to you via registered mail. You need to activate and have access to your Trusted Trader portal using the activation code and then your client number. At that stage, you will then add each of those users that have previously received a GC key. You will then complete your company and security profile, also demonstrating that you meet all program minimum security requirements with uploads, or what we now refer to as evidence of implementation. When the security profile and account information is 100% complete, you will need to meet that 100% compliance in 3 areas before being allowed to submit. And then only an account owner or a signing officer of the company, regardless of who has completed the application, will need to submit it. The submitting of the application will only appear when all the necessary fields have been completed. Customs, in return, will be reviewing that data prior to you receiving your permission to proceed. As well, you need to sign and submit to Customs what's called a Certification and Authorization to Disclose Information. This will allow for mutual recognition. For example, if you're both applying for PIP and C-TPAT, allowing the US government and the Canadian government to talk and to provide you some benefits moving forward. The customs officers on the other end are reviewing the submitted security profile. Canada Border Service Agency will also perform a risk assessment at that point, regardless of any other risking that may have occurred or be occurring as you're making application. Following a successful assessment, a Canada Border Service officer, who's a regional officer, will schedule a site visit unless you have been already visited by C-TPAT and within the last 24 months. The officer may still request the on-site visit because they like to come on-site, verify the details that you have provided, and then meet and greet and giving you some helpful training information that you can use for moving forward. After the site visit has been completed or your C-TPAT site visit has been accepted, only then are you going to be considered approved and receive a certificate of approval and be listed as an approved member so that other members can confirm your PIP and ultimately with CSA your FAST approval. So now let's talk about FAST for the U.S. Again, the application and approval. In the United States, it's based simply on making application to one program called Customs Trade Partnership Against Terrorism, C-TPAT, which again is mutually recognized with Canada's PIP program. Again, you want to expedite your crossing to ensure a green light to proceed with the benefits of the FAST program. So let's talk about the eligibility now specific to highway carriers. A highway carrier must actively be involved in crossing the U.S., Canada, or U.S.-Mexico border. It's the same application, it's the same process that you're going to go through, and you can choose to advise customs that you do business only at the U.S.-Canada border or that you do business at both the U.S., Canada, and Mexico border. You need to have a business office in U.S. or Canada or Mexico. You have to have an active SCAT code. A SCAT code is issued by the U.S. National Motor Freight Traffic Association and a U.S. DOT number in order to continue to make application. You need to provide a designated officer of the company that will be listed now as the primary contact for C-TPAT. They want that senior management buy-in. And you need to create and provide Canada Customs Border officers with a company and security profile demonstrating that all minimum security criteria outlined in the application process can be met. Often we receive a phone call from carriers that are not crossing the border but want to potentially do business maybe within the automotive sector and want that C-TPAT application. At the time that we make application and submit, you must have an active history of crossing the border. The application process for making application into the C-TPAT program is again completed online through a portal. On June 1st, 2015, Customs Border Protection launched version 2.0 phase 2, which has amended the process that we were previously familiar with. Steps include creating a user profile, a link to your email address indicating that you're the user, and you will receive instruction to create 3 security questions with coordinating responses that only you will know in order to reset or create your first password. It should be noted this information will be permanently tied to your user profile, so saving the answers to those 3 questions is imperative because each time you reset your password moving forward, you'll need the responses to those 3 security questions. You then have the ability to create your company profile and begin completing your security profile. After being certified and approved for C-TPAT, automatically your company will move over to the FAST office for risking. A FAST ID will be issued. This number is provided to you through what we call message directly on a C-TPAT messaging board. Your FAST ID should then be associated to transponders purchased through the U.S. decal transponder online procurement system. And transponders are not only the user fee that prepays that $10.75 fee that would be required each time you cross the border, but it's now indicating that you have a FAST ID, the VIN number, and the truck is operated by a FAST company/driver. And without a FAST ID number associated to the transponder, companies using, for example, proprietary software for the reporting of fast loads into the U.S. will not be able to confirm or see your fleet in order to proceed with true fast customs clearance. So let's talk about now the minimum security requirements for that application. You need to provide and create and conduct regular supply chain security risk assessments of your operations, your security procedures within the supply chain, and your involved business partners. Under risk assessment in your security application, there are two categories that need to be completed as part of your security profile. As well, Customs expect clearly defined procedures that will stipulate how you screen your business partners over and above financial screening. And there's 8 categories that need to be responded to. Your conveyance security requirements is the key and most critical element. It's describing and meeting now several operational procedures on a per-trip basis pertaining to the equipment used in international traffic, and describing how you will deter the potential for unauthorized access. For example, using C-TPAT compliant ISO PAS 17712 type seals. And under conveyance security requirements, there's 42 categories that you must meet the security requirement and describe how you're going to meet that requirement. Under procedural security, you're going to document and provide written procedures to describe how you process an order, and there's 11 categories to complete. Under physical security and physical access controls, you're describing basically your company's physical property, your security features, the security access controls. There's a total of 10 categories. And then 11 other categories that are going to specifically describe, for example, is there fencing in place? Is there gates? How many entrances into the property? What's the building built of? Your alarm systems? Is there surveillance cameras? All of that very specific to where the officers would come to do that validation. You also need to have in place personnel security, hiring, and termination procedures, and there's 5 categories that you will respond to as part of that application. And then, of course, not only at the beginning of application, but throughout the time that you're involved in this program, you need to be able to provide security training and awareness that will be delivered to your operations and drivers. The Customs do provide you what we call a public document library, where they provide you training materials that you can adopt and then use to meet those security trainings. Even today, this particular webinar can be documented if you were already a member of the C-TPAT as ongoing security training and awareness that you engage in. As well, we need to provide documentation describing your IT security practices. So are your computer systems protected? Are individuals provided individual passwords? And again, there's 5 categories that you complete in that particular area. Once you have completed and have designed a system that meets all of these categories, this is when we submit your application, or you would be in a position to submit. And let's not forget your drivers. During your company's application process, it is imperative to start working with your drivers or owner-operators who are going to be involved in crossing the border. A fast application for a driver is now the best form of immigration identification for your drivers. A driver can be a holder of a fast ID card and your company not be involved in the fast program. The application for a driver to apply is $50 US or Canadian, and it's managed through the same program. So in order for a driver to apply, he simply needs to be a citizen or a permanent resident of Canada or the U.S. The driver or the parties that are going to be in the vehicle as they cross the border must be 18 years or older and possess a valid driver's license. It does not need to be a commercial driver's license, although we know drivers need that commonly to cross the border or to be in a truck. Your driver must be admissible to both Canada and the U.S. under the applicable immigration laws. And unfortunately, a driver can be denied by U.S. Customs and be accepted by Canada Customs or vice versa. As well, for you as a company, your driver having a fast ID card is really your only guarantee that that individual can cross the border and has met the pre-approval by both Canada Border Service Agency and CBP. So an application for a fast card for a driver is done online, and whether you do it through U.S. Customs Border Protection website or Canada Border Service Agency website, the link will direct you to the Global Online Enrollment System. We call that GOES website. That driver will provide personal information and just complete an online application. That information now, once it's submitted through the GOES program and you've created your GOES account, that information is directly sent to US CBP, but the information is shared with Canada Border Service Agency. The steps including the registration with GOES, signing in to using your newly created GOES account, completing the FAST application, and noting that your driver should be prepared with a hard copy of his valid passport or citizenship certificate with photo and valid driver's license and a valid credit card to make payment of that $50. All of this information is going to have to be submitted for review. After submitting the application, the driver should monitor his GOES account for the next steps, including a conditional approval. A letter of invite giving them a conditional approval will be submitted and will be received, and at this point the driver then is invited to make an appointment at the nearest FAST enrollment center where the final approval will be granted. The driver will undergo an interview, will have fingerprinting done, photocopy, photo done for his FAST card. All of this will be done at that enrollment center. And you should keep in mind that it's a conditional approval based on the risking by U.S. and Canada Customs in the background. The officer at the enrollment center has the ability to deny the driver at that point in the process. If the driver is rejected, determining why is very important to facilitate any attempt to change the reject and to move it into an approved status. Was he approved or rejected by Canada Customs? Was he rejected by U.S. Customs, etc.? Once the driver has the FAST ID card, then that driver can be in fast lanes with FAST approved freight carried by a FAST approved company doing business with other FAST approved importers of record. So let's talk about, are you ready to apply? If you've determined that you wish to make application for FAST, either U.S. or Canadian, because you can select to do just FAST for the U.S., so you would make application for C-TPAT and not do the Canadian part of it, or vice versa, we're here to help you. My consulting team provides you the guidance and customs years of experience needed to successfully make application and receive approvals. Keep in mind these programs are voluntary, but possibly your clients are insisting you make application in order to haul their goods. At the same time, you also need to remember if other parties within your supply chain, such as the importer of record, the party responsible for the customs clearance, or your driver is not certified or approved, you won't receive the maximum benefits that has been described in this webinar. As well, in some cases, the type of goods you haul should be factored into that decision-making process. Since, for example, automotive is sort of been driving this, but at the same time, if you were hauling fruits and vegetables where other government department requirements have to be met, those may in fact not be able to be even qualify for these enhanced release options, so you may not want to make application. Whether you use the party, a third party or someone to assist you, regardless, you're making an investment in time and in maybe dollars and cents to be approved. So you want to make an informed decision based on your specific business model, your clients, and the type of freight that you haul in order to ensure that you're going to spend this money wisely and actually get a certification that's going to assist you in the long run. So at this time, we're going to invite you to submit any questions that you might have. And while we're waiting, I can just kind of give you a bit of a recap. We help hundreds of carriers every year that want to be involved in this program. They have clients asking them to be involved in this program, maybe demanding they get involved in the FAST programs. But keep in mind, these programs are still under development. They continue to change, and it's just not making application. It's also willingness to fulfill your long-term obligations and making sure that on a daily operational basis, your company employees are aware of your commitment to the program and are willing to participate in order to make sure you're going to have long-term success in retaining your FAST for both Canada, the US, or FAST for the southern border. Justin, do we have any questions that have been submitted?
No, it looks like I did ask a couple times during the course of the webinar if there's any questions and for people to use the chat box. But it looks like you were so informative, Debbie, that no one has any questions. If Debbie, if there's anything you'd like to add, I can go back to you before I conclude the webinar. Okay, then we'll go ahead and conclude the webinar. Thank you for everyone for attending. We appreciate it, and for some of you on such short notice, thank you very much. Our next webinar will be on Tuesday, August 18th at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard, and it will be covering learning the basics of doing ACE eManifests in BorderConnect. And on Tuesday, September 8th at 2 p.m., we will be hosting a webinar on C-TPAT, which is a perfect complement to today's webinar. And it will be hosted by Debbie Dent as well. It will also feature updates that will occur in August as CBP continues to launch their version 2.0 phase-in. So for those who have friends or coworkers that you think should tune in, please let them know. Also, don't forget, U.S. Customs and Border Protection will be hosting Trade Day 2015 on Wednesday, August 19th in downtown Detroit from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. For more info on the location and details on Trade Day, you can visit our website and go to our events page, and you can also register from there. To sign up for a free 30-day ACE or ACI eManifest software trial or to register for any of the webinars, you can visit our website at www.borderconnect.com or email myself directly at Justin, Justin, at borderconnect.com, and I will send you a registration link. As always, if you have any questions or concerns, please contact our toll-free number at 1-800-596-5176. Or for your consulting inquiries, you can email Debbie directly at consulting@borderconnect.com. Again, thank you very much, everyone, and have a nice day.